View podcast. Joining us live today, we got OC Baseball, and we got Hagen with us. What's going on, guys? Episode 183. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers listening out there, if there are any. And if you forgot to get your mother a Mother's Day gift, might as well stop at Chinook's Eatery and use our discount code, The Skippers Viewed, for 10% off. Get anything from jalapeno ranch to regular seeds, sunflower seeds from Chinook. They are excellent, and they are a proud sponsor of the show. We'll dive right into the hot corner. So, guys, we got to talk about the managers now. We got two managers to get canned, I guess, in the last week and a half between Derek Shelton of the Pirates and Bud Black of the Rockies. The Rockies decided to pull the plug on Bud Black yesterday after a 7:33 start. So, guys, Hagen, let's start with you. Do you think these are premature firings?
I don't know. I think the Bud Black one you could say was a little bit of a bad timing because they fired him right after they got a win on Mother's Day. So you could say it's bad timing that way, but it felt like they were going to fire him at some point. Like if you kept him till June, July, I think eventually was going to get fired either way. So it's just a matter of just get him out there and get someone new in the door. And I think just where the Rockies are at right now and how awful they've been, it's just kind of, let's just get a new face in here. Let's try things out now. Let's see if we can maybe find a manager for next year if they want to stick with their bench coach, or the bench coach, I believe, who's going to be picking up the job for him. So I don't know if it's premature. It definitely is early, though, especially if having two managers fired. So I don't know, a little early, I'd say.
And Mikey, over to you. I know you've kind of been out of sync with this a little bit, but yeah, Pirates obviously part ways with Derek Shelton, which we knew the flaws in the Pirates right now. It's the hitting, and we know they're not willing to spend money. Do you think either of these firings were justified or premature? What are your take on them?
I don't really think they're like premature. It's just like an ownership problem more than anything, really. I can't believe it's really been 9 years that Bud Black's been the Rockies manager, and I don't really know. When was it? 2016 was like when they had that wild card game when Kyle Freeland was like his breakout year, and like that was when they were fun. They had Nando, Charlie Blackmon, and Freeland looked like an up and coming pitching kind of star, and it's just been all downhill since then. So I don't even know. I think technically that was 10 seasons ago. So I think maybe Bud Black came in right after that, or that was his first season. But I kind of can't believe that he's been around this long. So I think for a manager to be around that long with a losing organization that really hasn't played much competitive baseball at all shows there was an alignment with the ownership and like the leadership of the team. So maybe this is a little bit of foreshadowing that they'll be heading in a different direction. Maybe they'll spend a little bit. They went after Chris Bryant. That really backfired, but hopefully this is a sign of something new for them, like Hayden said.
Yeah, I think both these guys are quality managers, right? And I think that everyone on this podcast and everyone in the baseball community knew the Pirates and Colorado were in for long seasons. Colorado Rockies they don't have talent. Like they don't have a lot of talent on the team. And the Pirates, they have excellent pitching, but they knew preseason, or maybe it was the first week of the season, Jared Jones went down. He was a super talented pitcher, and he was going to be relied upon to be the third starter behind Skeens and Keller. So tough spots for both teams, both cities. I think that the Pirates, though, their problems are more solvable. It sounds like either spend more money on the roster or move on from ownership. And obviously, the owner is not going to force sale his team. So, it's going to be a self in, I guess, within thyself of the Pirates is what I'm trying to say. Like they could fix their organization internally. The Rockies are a whole different story. It seems like everything top to bottom is just frustrating there. Like who's their most promising pitcher for the next 10 years? Chase Dollander. Not like Chase Dollander is super talented, but like, is he going to pan out? That's a huge question. Nobody knows. Lineup wise, as you mentioned, Mikey, Chris Bryant, that free agent signing didn't really work out. Michael Toglia has been not great, and he was a guy they relied upon a lot. I know Brendan Doyle's a good player, and I think he'll continue to be good there. Ezekiel Tovar as well. I think he's a good young player, but the Rockies just don't seem they have a lot of promise. And they need to make a lot of adjustments internally in order to correct this. We will move on. We got to talk about Hagen. We're talking about a Met now. We'll start with you, Pete Alonso. Alonso's batting .328 on the year and leading the National League with a .450 on base percentage. He's also got a .635 slugging percentage. So his 23 extra base hits, they're tied with Corbin Carroll for the most in the NL. Guys, how happy are you? I know you're both Mets fans here. Who wants to start off with talking about how happy they are that the Mets were able to get Alonso back in free agency this offseason?
Yeah, I'll start here. I think it was such a need. I know once they signed Soto at his press conference, he said that we're not done adding yet. I need protection in this lineup. I didn't sign here just to have Brandon Nimmo hit behind me or whatever. Like Brandon Nimmo's a great player, but he's struggling right now. David Stearns promised him he's going to protection, and that's what he got him. I mean, Alonso's second in WOBA and WRC plus in all of baseball behind Aaron Judge. I mean, if you're right behind Aaron Judge in anything, that's phenomenal. And he's arguably the MVP in the National League right now to this point of the season. And I think a big part of it too is this year, we saw last year he was on the contract year. It seemed like he was pressing himself a little bit. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but he just seems stressed out about everything. And it seems like this year, Pete's just playing free and fun again, just watching every single game. He's got a chip on his shoulder as well, too, because, I mean, nobody really wanted him in the offseason, at least for the value that he wanted. And even the Mets, like, for what the deal he got from them was nothing compared to what he was looking for. So I think he's had that chip on his shoulder to go out there and want to go prove something this offseason. And we saw last year, too, with Judge, his numbers with Juan Soto hitting in front of him, because it's kind of pick your poison there. You got Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor hitting in front of Pete Alonso. You got to pick your poison there. I think normally you're going to go after Pete Alonso instead of Juan Soto there. And we're seeing you have to, when Juan Soto draws all these walks, and he's just such a patient hitter, he's forcing these pitchers to throw competitive pitches in the zone to a guy like Pete Alonso. And his swing decisions have been a lot better this year, too. I mean, his exit velocity is up by 6 miles per hour. I know it's only like 115 batted balls, but should be decently stabilized there at this point now. But Pete Alonso's been phenomenal. And with the Mets didn't have him back at this point, I don't think the Mets are even close to the record they're at.
Now, I don't even remember. I should have looked it up while you were on your pitch. Does Alonso have an opt-out after this year or no?
Yeah, he's got an opt-out.
Are you worried at all?
Most likely take.
Are you worried he's going to opt out of it? It sounds like he probably should, based off his performance so far.
Guaranteed.
Now, Mikey, do you see a world where the Mets are not able to retain Alonso after this year if he's asking for more money?
100%. Yeah, I do. It's something that Stearns going to have to really toe the line with, because there's a culture aspect to it. Obviously, there's a fan base, emotional attachment to it. Obviously, it's something we talked about on the off seasons. He's not here to make emotional decisions. That's why he's getting this job. But I think like Hagen's talked about a lot, that they won't, like, even despite how he's playing now, they're going to be extremely reluctant to give him a more than a 3-year deal. And I pretty much agree with that sentiment. It's really tough, because it's like, I really don't believe in like making scared moves because of like job security and anything. It's more common in football. But Stearns is not going to have to worry about job security, I think, realistically. And if him and Steve have a disagreement, Steve could just be like, I really don't care about the money. And he could go like do what he wants. But I'm not really sure he'd do that, frankly. He was very okay with letting Pete walk this past year. And, Pete, as of right now, as far as I'm aware, still has Scott Boras as his agent. So it really just comes back to really playing chicken in a way, the bluff game. Who's going to go longer in the stare down without blinking and say, we're cool parting ways, before the other one says, you know what, we really don't want to do this. And once you do that, you really lose all leverage. But I think it's really cool right now. I guess this would technically fall under like our cool stats segment that we have later. But Pete, if the season ended today, Pete would actually have a higher WAR than he did last year by a 0.1. He's at 2.1 or 2.2 WAR right now, and he was at 2.1 last year, which is pretty crazy. But I think the important thing is to enjoy it while it lasts. Not saying it's gonna like take a turn for the worse, but realistically, and we just take our wins when we get them. Pete's on fire, and the contact quality says he's playing to that standard. Maybe even getting a little unlucky, but I don't really know if I'm gonna buy that Pete Alonso is like a 93% better than league average for the entire year. But it's awesome. I love it. Having him back for the next few years would also be a blessing for Mets and Mets fans alike. So I know someone said today, like, we got to bring him back. I've been opposed to it in the past. We got to bring him back. Like, this is the third head of the Hydra, basically, that's going to help this team win a championship. And it's pretty hard to disagree with that right now.
Yeah, the big thing, I noticed and I saw this stat. So Peter Alonso this year on in-zone pitches, he's batting 376 with a 733 slug, 473 weighted on base, and a 61.4 hard hit rate, compared to his last 2 years combined, 283 average, 613 slug, 374 weighted on base, and a 48.4% hard hit rate. So he's really mashing on anything in the zone. You can't throw it down the strike zone for him right now. He's one of those guys, almost Judge-esque. Like, if you got to put it outside the zone and hope he swings. If not, plant. I don't know what to do, because he's obviously taking you opposite field every time. When you're putting it there, he's hitting the crap out of the ball, and he is a problem. He is a problem for opposing pitching right now. Jason Dominguez, across the town, going from Queens over to the Bronx, he had a 3-home run game the other day. Now, he's the youngest Yankee ever to have 3 home runs in a game. Let this sink in. So he's 22 years old, 91 days when he did this. This feat was set by Joe DiMaggio. He was 22 years old, 200 days, so about 110 days older. But this was all the way back in 1937, almost 100 years ago. Guys, I'm going to pull up his baseball reference page. Sorry, I'm all tongue-tied over here. But Jason Dominguez, right? He's 22. He's batting 243. He's got 5 bombs on the season. Obviously, 3 of them came the other day, but he's still almost at 1 WAR for the season already. He's got a few stolen bases. His OPS is 786. He's slugging 450. Do we think this is the beginning of a, blossoming future for Dominguez in New York? I'll start with you, Mikey. Are you a believer in Jason?
Yeah, I've really never not been a believer. The talent is through the roof, and I think people will get caught up in how he's performed at each level, but he's been so young. I mean, you could look at like the top draft picks from last year are younger or are older than him, and they're in A ball or double A ball. This kid's producing at the MLB level, and I think it's something that is actually somewhat unknown when it comes to like minor league performance, is that age to the level is really important. So, I mean, even if he's not tearing the cover off the ball in AAA, he was still 21 last year. I mean, Roman Anthony's kind of going through the same thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not really struggling at all right now in AAA, but if he was struggling at AAA, well, he's a 21-year-old. Like, the average age for that level is at least 24, I'm pretty sure. So, it's cool that Baseball Reference actually shows you those things. But I've never had a doubt with him. And as much as I'm an all-around like baseball player, kind of enthusiast, and appreciating all aspects of the game, offense is what carries value, and the kid's going to hit.
I tend to agree. Hagen, what are your thoughts on Dominguez at this point?
I think it's very encouraging to see him have that type of performance and kind of have that first kind of breakout in a sense in the big leagues at this level, especially for how young he is. And what stood out to me too is he hit his first home run too as a left or right-handed batter, I believe. And it's if you look against righties this year when he's hitting left, he has a 166 WRC plus. When he's facing lefties, he's got a 52 WRC plus. His K percentage is 7% better. Is with the splits. He's walking a little bit more too, like when he's facing righties. So his OPS is 400 points different. So it's very encouraging to see him get that side of the split of the switch hitting, get some power out of that aspect of it, because he's been a very good hitter from the left side of the plate. Just been that right side of the plate where he's been. I mean, in all honesty, he's been kind of awful so far. But to Mikey's point too, he's so young, and you got to factor in. I know you kind of get a little bit of prospect, a little bit of fatigue with this guy, especially when he's the next whatever Barry Bonds, whatever. There was a Sports Illustrated of him where he got a lot of hype. He may have gotten a little too overhyped, but we got to remember this guy's so young. I mean, how many guys are figuring this out at whatever 26, 27 years old in the big leagues, and this guy's 22 years old doing this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, he got a nickname the Martian. That is a big nickname to live up to. Quite honestly, the meaning of that nickname, if you don't get it, is he's out of this world. Like, he was supposed to be out of this world good, and we just saw it. He's 218 pounds. He's 5'9". He's built like a freight train, and he could steal some bases. He could hit with power. I like your call about the WRC plus. If he learns how to go against lefties with the right hand side and improves upon that, he's gonna be a really dangerous player. Defense, we know that it's lackluster. It's a thing that with effort and reps, though, can be improved. That's as simple as it gets with defense. It's not, obviously there's some guys more talented than others when it comes to it, but that just means it takes him less reps to get there. Jason Dominguez works on this left field. I'm not worried about him becoming a competent defender long-term. He's 22 once again. We'll jump, though, to standings in the rundown as we go through these. So let me share standings right now. So we're going to start with the AL East, as always. Here we go. Let me know when you guys see. There we go. So we'll start with the East. Yankees are right now 6 games above 500. They have a 2-game lead on Boston. Toronto's won 4 games in a row. Very noteworthy. They're in the middle. They're only a game back. 3 games back. And then Tampa's on the tail, 4 games under 500. Baltimore, I saw this ain't good. MLB Network had a article today about bold predictions, and one of them was that Baltimore is going to lose 90 games, which I was like, oh, that's tough. That's very tough. The Detroit Tigers continue to be very good. Cleveland right on their tail, 2 games back. Kansas City Royals 2.5 back. The Twins, they are riding an 8-game win streak. Let's talk about Chris Paddock as he was flirting with a perfect game the other night. He was perfect through 5. He went 7 1/3 innings, and then it ended up allowing 3 hits, 1 earned run, 6 Ks. So Twins, guys, 8 straight wins. They're now a game above 500. Are the Twins going to have fight in them? We'll start with you, Mikey. What do you think about the Twins? Do you think they're at all a contender for the AL Central, or do you think this is just a in the middle of the season kind of win streak here going?
I don't really think they're much of a contender. I've been an enthusiast of the Twins. I wouldn't say I'm like a big truther or anything, but the team's got so much talent, and they've shown to have done well with pitching development in the past. There were times when it looked like they might have been like a really sneaky top 5-ish pitching developing team. And I think that's kind of maybe slowed a little bit. But the team's got a lot of pieces that you want to see succeed, and a lot of that lack of success somewhat has to do with health, which sucks. But I really don't see them as a threat to those top 2 in the standings in the AL Central. But I think they're a really fun team, and seeing them play playoff baseball as a healthy team would be a little bit frightening in my opinion.
Hagen, are you a Minnesota truther at all, or do you think this is just recency catching some fire?
They have such a talented roster, but it's just how many games are they going to play this year with Buxton, Correa, and Royce Lewis together in that same lineup together? The line's probably set at 10, 15 if you had to set it. Like, they have so much talent on their team, even on the pitching side too. But we saw them just give up in the second half last year. They had an awful collapse, and they just looked like they just kind of stopped caring, which was kind of tell me something. I know it's hard that time of year when you're playing off of baseball, but when you're just seeing guys give up in a race for a postseason, it kind of tells me, kind of made me think a little bit different about them. But I also view this as it's the AL Central, and anything happens in the Central, and it's always just chaos. It's besides the Chicago White Sox, which all these teams are going to beat up on and get their free wins from them. It's going to be chaos, and this is going to be a tight division, in my opinion, for the entire year.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. They are a talented roster, but they're just kind of like the island of, I guess, misfit toys. They have a lot of weird pieces like Buxton when he's there, one of the best players in baseball when he's healthy. The problem is he's never fully healthy. You got the Royals, I guess, they live and die by Bobby Witt Jr. You got the Guardians, who they got very good pieces, obviously surrounded by center around future Hall of Famer J Ram. And then the Tigers got an elite pitching staff, and their younger guys are all really starting to pop. So I don't think the Twins realistically, because like you said, Correa, Buxton, Royce Lewis, how many games are they all going to play together? I just don't see them putting it all together. Like even with um the couple bullpen pieces they have in Juan Duran, and I don't know. I don't see it for the Twins this year. I don't think that they're going to be very aggressive at the deadline at all. Like I can't see Minnesota being aggressive and going out there and grabbing some players. I think they're going to sit back and rely on calling up players within their own system in order to make a run, and that's just not going to get the job done. We'll jump to the West.
I mean, we saw it last year at the deadline when was it Garrett Richards, whoever that was their only offseason acquisition. Like they did nothing when they were in first place, and then the dude I think it was, I forget what his name was, reliever though, and then he was DFA'd within like a month. They added nothing at the deadline, even when they were the first place team.
Yeah, wild, and that's why it's hard for me to get excited for Minnesota Twins. It's like unfair to the Twins fans that like they produce guys like Royce Lewis, Buxton. They have what's his name? Who's the outfielder who's like now a top 5 prospect in all of baseball?
Walter Jenkins.
Walker Jenkins.
Walker Jenkins.
He's going to be a stud. This guy, and like there's just like, okay, now who's the pitching to complement him? Joe Ryan. Like they got to go out there and sign some big arms. I feel, not just rely on one or two guys.
They really have a nice core going, though. Frankly, I mean, even on the prospect side of things, after like the premier names now go away, like you have Walker Jenkins. From a prospect side of things, obviously, like we mentioned earlier, like there's no for sure promise there, or there is promise, but there's no like surefire talent there. But you got Walker Jenkins, you got Brooks Lee is in the bigs now. You have Luke Keyshaw, who honestly looks like a really solid player at second base. They have who's the other big one? Erod playing the outfield. I think, did he get called up at all or something? I don't really know, but and they got Festa and Zebby Matthews, who looks like an absolute stud. I mean, he keeps throwing harder and harder, and now he's like hitting 97 more than once an outing. Festa is kind of like a 3-pitch guy, but he's got just really good stuff, really funky arm. And if you get those guys up in the next 2 years, you have a young core that maybe starts progressing. You still have, I don't know what the Joe Ryan contract looks like, or Bailey Ober.
And they also have Pablo Lopez too. And like I didn't even mention Griffin Jax earlier, but I feel like the pieces just they never like click at the same time. And then like when guys are clicking, guys go down. It's just like a never-ending cycle of torture for Minnesota fans to watch these guys. I don't know. We can jump.
I think they have Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, and Bailey Ober for all three of them only for the next 3 years. So like you're hoping maybe they could like extend a middling arm like Ober. who's like posted some really good results, and he like will often have like a really bad stretch during the year. Like, they would have to get out of like the. I would probably think that they look to get out of the Pablo Lopez contract before they were to extend Ryan or Ober. But I really like both of them. Are they aces? No, but they're really like. I wouldn't have an issue like having those guys start playoff games. And if who knows what Zebby Matthews becomes? Like, he's just a really, really fun arm. But like it's just like the pieces are there, the core is there. So I feel like they're in kind of a tough position. I would never really subtract from the top of that farm because they have a lot of guys coming up at the exact same time. Like, they could have a really like young core that's really cheap for a long time, which is something that an organization that won't spend really needs. So it's just like they're almost stuck in like a purgatory where they either need to like find their next Reed Garrett or find a Griffin Canning in Mets terms and like really flip something that helps like spark a change for the team. And they just need their guys to be healthy.
Well said. Well said. I agree. American League West, we'll jump to it. Mariners continue to hold their grip on first place. They've lost their last three. Houston, exactly where we think they would be all season, just creeping around. And Altuve, we'll talk about him later. He got pulled from a game earlier this weekend. Athletics, they're showing some fight. They're above 500. The Rangers, just a game below 500. And the Rangers, they haven't clicked at all yet. Like, they haven't clicked almost in like a season and a quarter now because they were not great last year, recovering from the World Series win, from their World Series hangover, I should say. And now they're a game below 500. Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, Langford, they've all dealt with their ups and downs, both performance-wise and with injuries. And the bright note of the Texas Rangers is Jacob deGrom, right? And, they sit in fourth place. Then you got the Angels, who, they're going to be competitive some games. They're not a great, roster right now, the Angels. They got similar to the Twins, they do have some core pieces that are young, affordable pieces, and they could build around them with some money if they can, convince some guys. But right now, looks like they are poised for a last place finish in the AL West. I don't really have much on the AL West this week just because, kind of things stayed the same, and everyone in that division either went 5-5, 4-6 over the last 10 games. So it relatively stayed the same over the week. We'll jump to the National League East, though. Let's talk about the Mets. They continue to hold their grasp on first place. Hagen, Phillies are 2 games back. Braves are 6.5. Marlins and Nationals now. Nationals have lost 5 straight, and they're starting to trend towards more the Marlins territory than the Philly Atlanta territory. What do you feel about the Mets so far? Go at 26-15. What are your thoughts as a Met fan?
I feel great right now. Obviously, they just kind of had the last 2 weeks were not great compared to how they really started off. But, I mean, we talked about it, last week before about, the Mets have played no teams above 500. And it was kind of they have an easy schedule. And me and OC were talking about it. They're fitting, it says right there, 20-11 against teams above 500. So they're not frauds. They're a good team. They just faced the Cubs, the best offense of baseball, held them to 2 hits one game, 3 hits one game, then 5 hits the next game. They just shut down the Cubs offense, which is the best scoring offense in all of baseball, and they did it pretty easily too. I mean, the game today, there was just a couple solo shots that they gave up, or a couple home runs, and that was really it. So the Mets are there. The pitching has a little bit of that regression that's baked in because you can't sustain a 1.9 whatever staff ERA and stuff like that. McGill struggled a little bit last few times, but I mean, Griffin Canning's 5th in the National League in ERA right now. I mean, I think that's a great sum. That stat to me just kind of sums up how the Mets are doing.
The Mets are only behind the Yankees and the Detroit Tigers right now in their scoring differential. They're plus 67 on the year. Yankees are at plus 75. Detroit's at plus 72. That is awesome news for the Mets to hear. They're not only pitching well, they're hitting the ball. And Juan Soto's been, he's been heating up, but he's not been what, Mets fans are expecting, just because the standards and the expectations are going to be so high when you get paid $750 million. But he's in year one, quarter one of this 15-year deal. I think it's going to be just fine. And the Mets with Alonso mashing, Lindor is finally getting off to a real hot start where he's going to give the fans no reason not to vote him into an All-Star game this season. I think the Mets are in a really good spot. I think they're in a really good spot, and especially if they acquire a starter or two, or maybe even a middle inning reliever at the deadline, they're going to be sitting pretty heading to the playoffs. I think they're a very dangerous team, the Mets, and they show a lot of fight. They got a lot of grit, and they got a good culture. Really think they have a lot of things covered to be a good organization in this league.
And real quick, I do just want to add on. We just had add an arm at the deadline. They're pretty much just going to be adding Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas, who haven't pitched yet for him this year. I mean, Manaea was kind of their ace for him last year down the stretch. And then also, too, like you said, these guys are heating up for him. Vientos also, I believe, the last 20 games, he's got like a 960 OPS, somewhere in that range. So he's starting to get himself back going again. And if you look at like MVP odds, at least last time I checked, 5th, 6th, and 7th was Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, and Juan Soto. It's insane. You have 3 of the top 7 players in the National League right now.
That is wild. Good for the Mets. Team that's been, obviously the Mets just put a damper on was the Cubs. They're leading the NL Central. They're 5 games above 500. They're right now just in front of the Cardinals, who have won 8 straight. They do have a losing record to teams above 500. The Cardinals, they're 9-10, but riding a nice little 8-game win streak. I kind of like this for St. Louis. It's showing some fight. Eric Fedde, he shuts out his former team this week for his first career complete game. So St. Louis now, this is their first. This is their first complete game from a starter since 2022. It's been a while for St. Louis for this to happen, and I'm not saying they come easy, but it's been 2.5, 3 years since St. Louis this has happened for. Good news for them. But the Brewers are right on their tail. Reds are right there as well. Pirates are one of the teams that we mentioned earlier who fired their manager this previous week. So I think the Pirates are a dead stick. They're going to, I think, be a top 3, or I should say bottom 3 worst team in all of baseball at the end of the season, unfortunately. Guys, Cubs now, they have Shota out. They have Justin Steele out. What do we think is going to happen to their lead? Do you think St. Louis or the Brewers are going to be able to, by the next time we come together, take a lead on this division? Obviously, the offense cooled off a little bit versus the Mets. The Cardinals are surging, and the Brewers, they are probably one of the grittier teams in all of baseball. They grind out wins every day. It feels like. We worried about Chicago? Mikey, I'll start with you. Sorry, Hagen, you could actually start off.
Go ahead.
I'm not. Chicago's offense is so good, but the pitching does scare me a bit. I mean, we saw Cade Horton come up have a debut, and he had 4 innings. He got the win in the debut. He pitched great. I mean, 3 earned runs. I think the line is an indicative of how he actually pitched because, I mean, Brett Beatty, Mets legend, hit a home run off him. I mean, that was really one of the only mistake pitches he made all night watching that game. But, like you said, the Brewers, when you get down in the dog days, the Brewers are going to be there. The Brewers are going to be the top of this division. They're going to be fighting for the spot to the last week or so. The Cardinals, I think you could see them have their stretches where they have this 8-win streak. You could see them having an 8-game losing streak as well, too, because they they have the piece on the roster, but they're not really a playoff team, in my opinion. I mean, for them, they're kind of like the 2024 Mets in a way, where just kind of let's just see what we have type of year before we kind of change regimes and all that with Heim Bloom coming in next year. But Chicago, they gotta get some bullpen. I trust Hoyer to get some bullpen help or at least an arm at the deadline. But it's this bullpen, man, it could kill him. I mean, it makes for some fun games watching the Cubs, but it's their bullpen's bad.
Yeah, they did. We mentioned on the last episode they did call up Cade Horton, who pitched the other day. He had 4 innings, he got the win, 5 strikeouts. He now has a 6.7 ERA and a 1 WHIP. Horton was the 7th overall pick in the 2022 MLB draft out of Oklahoma. He also did play quarterback there for anyone who didn't know that. spent some time at third base as well. He has started 6 games for their AAA affiliate this season, going 2-1 with a 1.24 ERA and a .86 WHIP. He's had 33 strikeouts across 29 innings down AAA. So could be some reinforcements right now. Obviously, we'll see, after this Mets game, how he pitches. But yeah, they're definitely going to need some pitching. Mikey, any strong takes on Chicago?
I'm just really confused about what's going on with the Brewers. Honestly, I like that team a lot. And it's just, I guess, maybe like the pitching side of things. But every time I look, they're like a game under 500. The next time I look, they're a game over 500. And then the next time I look, they're 500 again. It just seems like they win and then they lose every other day. And um, I haven't looked into it enough to know if I should be concerned about them. But I think that's the biggest threat to the Cubs. And if they keep playing like that, going back to the whole schedule thing, like when the whole Mets stuff had happened with the Mets have barely played over 500 teams or whatever, the Cubs hadn't played a single team under 500 to that point in the season. So I think that the turn is probably coming for them. And if the Brewers stay the way they are for a little longer, the Cubs will start getting some separation. Not really that worried for them. I think they have a pretty elite offense.
I'll say this. The Brewers right now are not rolling out Brandon Woodruff, Jacob Mizorowski, or Logan Henderson. Logan Henderson was a dog in his first MLB debut like 2 weeks ago. Jacob Mizorowski is looking like a dog in the minor leagues, and we all know Brandon Woodruff is one of the elite guys when he's healthy. Obviously, he had major shoulder surgery and is rehabilitating that still, but he's due back any day now. It looks like I think he's been pitching in like 2 or 3 starts in his rehab, throwing program here. But that's not one, that's not two, that's 3 good arms that the Brewers are not rolling out on like an everyday basis in their rotation right now. That they all control, like they're a part of their organization. They don't have to go out and get these guys. They can deploy them whenever they want when they're ready. I think that is a wild card. Because when you look at the Cubs, Steele's out for the year. Shota's out for a while. You look at the Cardinals, who Fetty, Sonny Gray. I don't even know the rest of their pitching staff, to be honest.
Miles Michaelis.
I was gonna say Liberos Boys been pitching well too, but this could be arguably one of the better pitching staffs in the NL Central. The NL Central does have a few. Obviously the Pirates have a good staff. Well, maybe a good 2-3 guys, but they still have Bubba Chandler to call upon. The Pirates. They still have perhaps Nashcraft to call. I think Thomas Harrington still has to get a call for the Pirates. So it's gonna be really interesting. It's crazy. It's fun to me how both the Centrals in the AL and the NL are both like the kind of, we have no idea how it's gonna play out. They're just it's kind of a shit show. That being said, we'll jump to the West. Bunch of elite teams here. We'll start with the Dodgers. They're controlling the first place as expected. Padres are right on their tail, 1 game behind. Giants have lost their last 3, and they're now 3 games back. Diamondbacks, they are 4-6 in their last 10, 6 games back, and the Rockies just stink. Nothing much I have from this division this week. I didn't get to watch. I know the Arizona Diamondbacks, they played a good series with the Dodgers this weekend, correct, Hagen?
Yeah, they played a pretty good series with them.
Yeah, I saw the headlines. I'm not going to act like I know because I didn't get to watch, but it's going to be a competitive division. We could wrap up with the standings though with that conversation. I want to jump to some miscellaneous things we got going on here. So, Boston, we talked about it a lot last episode with Rafael Devers and the backlash of the Tristan Casas injury and Devers being asked to play first base. So now infielder Romy Gonzalez, who ended up replacing Tristan Casas, he's now in the IL with a back injury. So this is coming from a collision in the field earlier this week. And right now the Red Sox are rolling out Eric Sogard as their first baseman. We have to talk about this. Rafael Devers needs to fucking sack up and play first base because they could call Roman Anthony to play today if he just did that and made this less of a drama. Like, even though I get his rights to not want to play first base. Mikey, we'll start with you. How much of a shit show is this for Boston? Not kind of keeping this under wraps and like working this out with Devers to play first base.
Yeah, it's weird, to say the least, right? It is kind of interesting to me because, yeah, I mean, like, has he really not played at all? Like, what is it like? What happens if they just say, "Hey, by the way, you're playing first base today"? What's going to happen? Is he going to say no?
I don't know. I don't
Is he
know.
really going to not play?
I don't know if it's like the NBA though, where he could. I don't know if he's within his contractual rights if he sits out. I don't know how that works. I don't know the language exactly in his contract, but I'm sure that if he's saying these things, it's either 1A, not well thought out on his part, and he's just speaking how he feels, or 2, he's getting advisement from someone, maybe his agent, saying like, "Hey, you're well within your rights, like to say this and do this until they make you play." And then it's like you either sit out and take a pay cut and that you ask for a move, to get moved. I would hate to see that because I really don't want the MLB to become the NBA. The NBA is trash, and we don't need guys sitting out and forcing their way to trade. Like, you signed a deal, dude. Like, honor your commitment.
I don't know. It's also just like it's almost like a sunk cost fallacy too. Like, he's just like going, just like, yeah, maybe I should play first base, but I can't like turn back now. Like, with all the public shit I've said, like, it's so weird. Like, but also, like, they could kind of like figure it out. Like, I don't know what his numbers look like with Christian Campbell, but like, as far as I know, he wasn't like a great defensive player. Arguably, he might have even been like fringe average. I'm not.
Well, I guess that's his big argument, is that they already asked him to play DH instead of third base. And he's like, you asked me, and playing DH, like, obviously you're not picking up any more assignments, but it is a mental change of like, you're not playing the field anymore. You're only getting up 3 or 4 times a game to hit. And he's like, you asked me to do this, I did it, or was willing to do it. And then, you're asking me again because you failed to prepare for depth at first base, to switch in the middle of the season. So I get his point. Hagen, I'll turn to you. What do you think? Do you think Devers being a diva here, or do you think this is like he's well within his rights to? I guess it could be both. I don't mean to put it on the spot.
Yeah, I would say more of both. Like, you can kind of see where he's coming from. Like, I get it was Heimblum that gave him that $300 million extension, not Craig Breslow. So I get that there's that aspect of it, but he's got to understand that the regime now is not the one that gave him $300 million. They're not the one that locked him up long term. I'm not saying they wouldn't have been the same, but they're not the ones that locked him up for whatever 10 years to be the third baseman. And you have to imagine, talking about this with Kicker Baseball last week, you have to imagine at some point in that contract there was the idea that you were going to be a first baseman eventually, because he's an awful third baseman, to be honest. He's not good over there. So eventually he's going to be moved to first or be a DH. So that's what's kind of, and I get it's in the middle of the season, right? I can see why he's frustrated. Like, I'm not saying he shouldn't be frustrated any means, but he just tells me that he's not really a great team guy, at least in this sense, because the team would instantly improve if he played first base, because you could bring up Roman Anthony, put him up there. And I honestly, like, I think this is kind of like the third base DH thing, where it was a media shit show for like a week or two, and then it was just kind of didn't hear anything about it again until this happened, and we start reciting back to that. I give it 2 weeks till Rafael Devers is the first baseman.
The other thing, though, like, I'm not sure if I'm playing devil's advocate or if I'm actually convincing myself that there is like just some like lack of working with the player. Devers is 6 feet tall, like on the dot. And like, yeah, he's god awful at third base. And like, well, Bregman's been fine defensively so far, but he could also play second base. He said he would play second base. Christian Campbell is not good at second base, and he's 6'3". Like, why not just let Campbell play first base, put Devers back at third, make everyone happy, and put your best 9 on the field?
But do you want to move your young guy though? Like I feel like you'd rather move the older guy who's eventually going to become the first baseman instead of the 23-year-old who can play second base right now.
Well, the 23-year-old can play second base for the next 7 years too. Like he's not going to forget how to. He's not going to forget how to be this bad at second base. Like he's only going to hopefully get better. Like you have a PR mess on your hands, and like everyone's like, "What the hell is going on?" No one's handling it properly, and you can't say anyone is because otherwise this wouldn't be a problem anymore. Realistically, he's not helping himself where he can like just get traded. Who's going to trade for him? His contract isn't great. He doesn't want to play first base for whatever the reasons truly are, or even for the reasons he's made public. But it's enough to scare teams away. It's not like they can just like go confer with him and be like, yeah, we've decided to trade for him after talking to him. I'm pretty sure that's not allowed. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, someone's got to sack up. It's like the whole Pete Alonso thing, but way worse. Like, someone's going to have to like give in eventually and just be like, you know what? We're hurting ourselves. Let's just patch it now. Figure out later. Like, Bregman could opt out after this year, and it's all like, okay, Devers is third baseman next year. Like, he's not going to realistically, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, just put your best 9 on the field.
And I think the funny part too was I saw a report. It was whatever. I think it was the day after that Devers came out in the media and did all these quotes, and the quotes were phenomenal. Honestly, like it was as a non-Red Sox fan. Like I'm not a Red Sox fan. It's pretty funny to watch it just because it was like the worst things he could have said, he said. Like he told the team, how about you go sign a first baseman? Go get a first baseman. I'm not playing there. Like I'm not playing there. But it was just funny to see that Craig Breslow and John Henry, the owner, just flew out to Kansas City from Boston to go have a discussion with them. I thought that was pretty funny. But also, like, that was the right thing to do.
Dude, it's pure entertainment. It is pure entertainment as not a Boston fan. But we can go on all day about Devers, but we got a few things we got to run through here. Detroit starter Casey Mize went on the 15-day IL on Saturday due to a strained left hamstring. I mentioned earlier Altuve, he exited Saturday's game with what the Astros were calling hamstring tightness. He didn't play today, Sunday, so I think he's day-to-day right now. Mariners activated Dylan Moore from the 10-day IL, and they sent down Samad Taylor to AAA Tacoma as a result. They also claimed Leody Taveras, the outfielder from Texas, off waivers. Milwaukee, speaking of pitchers coming back, I forgot to mention Aaron Savale earlier. So he's on a rehab assignment for AAA Nashville. He had a strained left hamstring, and on Thursday he threw 50 pitches over 4 scoreless frames in his first start back. Savale, hopefully he can come back for Milwaukee strong. The Dodgers had another injury to the bullpen. Michael Kopech, another injury on the way back. He began a rehab assignment for AAA Tacoma, Oklahoma here. He's dealing with right shoulder impingement. So he's been on the IL since opening day. In that start, he walked 5 batters. So, in that appearance, he walked all 5 batters he faced. So it does not look like he's anywhere near ready to come back to LA at this point. We'll jump though. I put this in here for fun. So the new Pope, he's a White Sox fan. Hopefully that can get the White Sox some help. I don't know if that, what that counts for. I just found out today too. The Pope, he's a Villanova graduate. He was actually at the 2014 graduation. I was there because my sister graduated from Villanova in that class. Jill Biden gave the commencement speech, and the Pope, like in the photos, was right next. So I was like, I was in the graces of the Pope. Weird. I never know who you're around.
That's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah. Never know. It's pretty random, but yeah, totally was random. Hagen, why don't you run us through the war draft scores, and I will share the standings here.
Yeah, so this week we had the top. I mean, a lot of people say pretty much the same here, but we still got Dean pretty far ahead of everybody else, sitting at 11.5. Then you, Brett, at 9.7 behind him. I'm in third at 7.7. Lewis right behind me at 7.6. He stayed the exact same from last week. Will's 7.5. Nick 7.3. Sam Fosberg 7.2. Mikey's 7.1. Toby's 6.6. Ethan's running up from the OPS 5.6. James 5.2. Grant's at 4.4. Sam Horvath at 4.2. Jeb at 3.1 and Ben at 3.9. So I think this kind of tells us that the Braves fans, they may not be the best with the ball knowledge.
That's
I was just gonna
crazy.
say Braves fans
I love you, boys.
getting delusional with their picks here. But no, to be fair, Ben lost Ryan Bliss, which I know is his last round pick, and not expecting much, but he's done for the year. I'm pretty sure Varsho just came back. Nico Horner was dealing with injuries prior to the season. Yeah, he's dealt with a lot, and like Michael Harris is also doing jack for him right now, which stinks.
And even like he's had Dylan Cruz, who he's starting to heat up now.
Yeah, and then Jeb on his side, for his defense, Jack Sparrow's first round pick's been out on the IL for a little bit. Willie Adames is really just starting to come around. Brendan Doyle hasn't done anything for him. Brandon Lowe has been miserable for him, and Anthony Santander is same thing for. He's got a negative 0.3. So interesting how this is all going to pan out. And we obviously, from you're listing off literally you at 7.7 all the way down to, I'll even say James at 5.2. He's ranked, there's 15 teams in this thing. Numbers 3 through 11 are all very interchangeable week over week right now. It's super competitive in the middle of the field. Dean's got a nice grab between Shohei, Alonso, and I forgot who's the other big player. Oh, Cal Raleigh, big dumper. Those are his 3 big ones. But I hope this gets more and more interesting as we move forward. This is fun thing to do, the war draft. Sorry, I got the hiccups. Hagen, I appreciate you updating this again for us. What else do we got today? We got eye-popping stat of the week. So why don't you read off your stat for us?
Yeah, so this is from obviously big Groundsville favorite player of all time. So I'm watching all of his starts, every single pitch. So Jacob deGrom, he had the vintage deGrom stuff. I mean, he had the stats this year, but the swing and miss wasn't there yet this year. And he had 21 whiffs yesterday, and that's the most he's had in a single game since April 23rd of 2023, which I thought was crazy. It was only 11 starts. The date makes it sound like it's a lot longer than it was just because he's been hurt. But it's great to see deGrom get the swings and misses. The velo was up a tick and a half. It's awesome to watch Jacob deGrom on the mound, and we shouldn't take it for granted when he's pitching.
No, we should not, especially after you, Ethan, and I in that last podcast. If you didn't listen to it, go back to episode 182. We talked about deGrom kind of in depth because he was the fastest, pitcher to get to 1,700 strikeouts, and he's missed virtually 5 seasons. We figured out, or 6 seasons on there. I forget, but deGrom he's elite stuff. I think that people will compare him to Verlander and Scherzer, and I think honestly, if he was healthy all those years, I think it would be a lot less of an argument, like who's better. I think deGrom is that nasty, and I don't mean to discredit Kershaw, Verlander, or Scherzer. All 3 of those guys are going to the Hall of Fame. Like, they're all studs. But deGrom, I think, doesn't get the credit he deserves when compared to those guys in the same era due to his injuries. And I love that you called us out, Hagen. But that's it from me this week. Mikey or Hagen, anything else to sign off with before we let everyone go?
Shout out Tim Elko. If you're an Ole Miss fan, if you're a big follower of their YouTube channel back in the day, the 2022, I think the 2022 national championship team, that was a big one. So I've always been a big fan of Tim Elko. I'm glad he finally got up there, and he went got his first career home run and hit in the same at bat today. We're using that pink bat on Mother's Day. So I'm sure that was a very special moment for him and his family. And that was awesome.
Hey, you got anything else from you?
Just a thought I had just watching Wheeler on Sunday Night Baseball is for how good he is. I think we talk about like Jose Ramirez and Lindor is the most underrated players in this generation. I think Wheeler is the most underrated pitcher of this generation. I mean, no one ever really talks about Wheeler, but he's always up there as the top 5 pitchers in baseball for the last, 7 years now?
Yeah, I think that people do not like they look at stats. Like even myself, like in fantasy, yes, I'm a big like K/9 guy. So if like guy has an elite strikeout ratio, so that's obviously what you're looking for, right? But I don't think people give Wheeler the credit that he deserves. If you just go down his innings pitch, and I'll share it real quick. This will be the last thing we talk about. But Wheeler, his baseball reference page, look at this year so far, 51 innings already, and it's May 11th. 200 the year before that, 192, 153, 213, 71 in 2020, which was the COVID year, and then again 195, 182, 185. This guy, he had one injury in a 11-year career where he did not play. He's been phenomenal, and he's also a workhorse. Two things that are super underappreciated. He's exactly like Logan Webb in that sense, or Logan Webb gets overlooked all the time. Logan Webb, like, if the Giants were like in a make or break situation, they could throw out Logan Webb and count on him for 7 to 8 innings. They really could in any start against any team. That's how good Logan Webb is. And Wheeler, to your point, Hagen, exact the same way, except probably better. And not probably.
And the Wheeler thing too is he's better in the postseason. He's one of the best postseason pitchers in MLB history. I mean, if you have Game 7, you have Game 7 of the World Series, you need a win. Wheeler might be the most chosen guy of any pitcher in baseball, even over a Skubal or a Skeens, just because of his postseason success.
Crazy to say, but hey, some guys are just that dude in the playoffs, But that's it for me. Thank you both for hopping on. To all the mothers again, happy Mother's Day out there. And go follow our podcast. Go outside the podcast if you listen. Go follow the blogs. The blogs are great that we're pumping out. We got a lot of guys putting out some really good stuff lately. Also, just our tweets group alone. We have a tweet group where we send out stuff on X, stats, what's going on in baseball. Some really great takes and graphics from our team. People putting in a lot of work from running from the OPS. Toby Schulman's putting in a lot of work. Obviously, we got Hagen and Mikey here with me today, but Dean's inventing new fucking statistics. That's insane. I'm not even going to comment to explain that because I'm going to let him do that when he comes on the show next. He'll go into.
I was going to say we missed another opportunity to bring in a BBI.
I think he wants to get a dashboard ready so we could actually show it and visualize it while he explains it and record it. But which is probably the smart way to do it because with any new technology or product, you got to let people understand it first before you just try to start selling it hardcore. But yeah, we got really cool things going on for a bunch of guys who are working or studying full time, whether you're a student or working full time like us. But thank you again. That's it for us. Bye.